Most people roll into the Seder and they know this part. So then what's the point? We have to delve deeper to understand what's really going on. Every moment has a theme and every nuance matters. And when you go through it, you come out a different person. So that's what we're going to explore together. The themes, the lessons, the reasons, the purpose. Because that's what this is really all about. Okay, we're about to pivot yet again. We just finished the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, and now there's the second piece to this, which is how it happened. Like, how did we leave? What was the mechanism and why? And so right away, the Haggadah pivots to the plagues. And this is sort of where everybody sits up. Some people have the custom to dip the finger in. Sfaradim, I don't think, have that custom. I saw Rav Vadia, he speaks about pouring. I know that we have the custom of pouring. I think just the Baal Abbas, the leader, pours. Rav Vadia speaks of putting it into a broken vessel, chucking it out. Don't touch, don't look at that thing. We don't mess with the wine and the pours during the plagues. But we start talking about the plagues. And it begins with 3 words that you never really see. We start with dam, ve'esh, v'simros ashan, like blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Like where did that come from? Like where do you see that group? So most of it just like roll right through because we're about to get to the Makos. So like whatever. Actually, it comes in, I thank you for forcing me to do this research. I didn't know this. It comes from Yoel, the Navi Yoel. In that Sefer, it speaks about the idea of the future. And v'nasasi mofsim b'shamayim v'aretz dam v'eis v'simros Hashem. Hashem's going to give mofsim, signs, wonders from Shamayim v'aretz. And what are those 3 wonders? Blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. So the Malbim says, what is that? Osus hateva hashemayimim. Celestial omens shayu be'ikvisa de Mashiach. This is going to be in the future. That's how you know it's coming. Yalu min haaretz larames as hashever hagadol sheyavo ha'amim. Hashem is giving you knowledge. I'm start breaking down the nations. This is the beginning of Geula. Why? So the Sforno says, Mofsim shayu la'or lev ha'am lashuv b'tshuva kodem bo yom Hashem gadol. Interesting. Before we get to the Makos, the Haggadah throws these 3 things in. Why? Well, maybe it's getting us into a place. We think the Makos is to get the Jews out of Egypt? Like, for real? Do we think for a second that Hashem needed Paro's permission? The way, like, we tell the kids the story is, Moshe goes and asks for permission, and Paro says no. And he goes, please, no. Pretty please, no. Okay, fine. Blood. How about now? No. Frogs. How about now? And they played this game where Hashem keeps on punching him until finally he goes, okay. Really? We need Paro's permission to leave Egypt? Hashem, who created Paro, needs Paro to tell him he can leave. Really? And the 9th plague is Choshech, darkness. The Mefarshim tell us that darkness was so thick, people didn't move for 3 days. Some say 6. Why doesn't Hashem tell Moshe, listen, no warning. I don't got to play this game. Here's what you're going to do. Tell the Jews, on Tuesday, it's going dark. Just get up and leave. We could have been in Israel, chilling out by the time the lights came back on Egypt, and everyone was like, hey, where did the Jews go? I got to play the game. What? So maybe right away, Haggadah is telling us. Because remember, I believe Haggadah thinks we know this stuff, right? Or we're going to look it up. Wait, there are 3 miracles that are going to signal the desire that Hashem wants us to come back in tshuva, the future, ikvisa de Mashiach. Maybe what he's saying is, pay attention. These plagues, it's all part of the larger package, l'or in tshuva, geula, not for Mitzrayim, for the world, for us. And so we begin this process now by recognizing these 3 little signals that these miracles mean something more than just getting us out. We begin this process and we get into the Makos. the famous Makos. Dam, Svardea, Kinim, we list out the Makos, and let's spend a minute understanding these Makos. Because the Haggadah gives us another clue. So you list the Makos. Dam, Svardea, everyone pours, or just the leader pours, whatever. Kinim, Aro, fine. You get to the end, Makas Bechoros. And then the Haggadah says, Rabbi Yehuda hayanosim behem simanim. Rabbi Yehuda gave signs. Tatzach, Adash, Ba'achav. Now, we look at it as like a mnemonic. But remember, they used to have mnemonics because the Torah there was oral law. Torah Sheba'al Peh was oral. And there was a time where people remembered it. But Torah Shebechsav was never oral, it was written. If it's written, you don't need a mnemonic. Remember, you use mnemonics when you got to study for your tests. If you get to bring in your notes, you're not making mnemonics. This is written. So why does Yehuda give us a mnemonic for it? And the Mefarshim go, I believe, all over this. And they say these aren't memory devices. Yehuda is cluing us in that actually these weren't 10 plagues. They were groups of 3. In fact, according to some, it was 3, 3, 3 with that final Makas Bechoros as the death knell, as the capstone lesson. So let's delve in a little bit. Because if we're going to look at the plagues, we need to understand it in this unique way. 3 categories of 3. So why? So let's just pull back for a second. Remember, I saw this once years ago from a shir name from Rabbi Nachum Liebtag. I believe he quotes the Rashbam, but I heard it from him. What's the game that we're playing here? The game is not getting the Jews out of Egypt. For sure not. The setup was one thing. Remember, the whole Seder is not about the story of Egypt. The story of Egypt is part of the narrative of being a Jew. Being a Jew means you're on this world in order to represent Hashem. Being a Jew means you have a relationship with Hashem. You realize that you're here on a mission, right? Being a Jew means you're wearing the jersey's wearing you. You're not wearing the jersey. Being a Jew means through the darkness, right? Being a Jew means the 4 lines of Arami Ovid Avi, of Mikra Bikurim, understanding that we have a purpose. So if we have a purpose in this world, there's no way that Hashem didn't build the plagues for that purpose. We're not sitting around remembering it because the big bully called Paro wouldn't let us out, and Hashem's got who's a bigger bully and punches him until he says, okay. This is a setup. Hashem didn't save us. I mean, he did, but that wasn't the purpose. He used us. If we're lucky, you get to be used by Hashem. If you're lucky, you get to be his messenger of doing good in the world. That's an honor. That's the story. When Moshe, Liebtag has this whole piece on this, and he quotes all these sources. When Moshe goes down and asks Paro, according to this approach that he takes from the Rashbam, he never asked Moshe never thought that the Jews wouldn't leave forever. It was for 3 days, a 3-day journey. It was for a week. We're going to do a yontif in the midbar. He asked for a Shabbaton. Right? That's why they go through the whole thing. That's why they're even negotiating. Then take this. If you look through the story, it negotiates, go with the guys, and you get the ladies, and take the cattle. Why would they even negotiate if the first question was, we're all leaving? Why would a nation ever think they're going to leave without their wives? When they say, V'yugad l'paro, ki baruchu ha'am, why would they say why would you say they ran away if they were leaving? The question that Moshe asked Paro was a 3-day journey. It was to go for 3 days. The Jews were losing their connection to Hashem. Hashem called. Hashem wants them back. He wants a seminar for a week. But why would he ask it that way? Because it's a week. A no means it's about Hashem. When you ask for the holiday off at your job and they say no, it means they don't value the holiday. Well, why would they ask for that for? And the answer is because that's how Hashem set up Paro. Paro was the most powerful man on earth. He was, quote unquote, he felt divinely ordained to be the king of the epicenter of the physical world. Hashem shows up to the most powerful man in the world and says, I want my people, do you value me? And Paro says, me, Hashem, Asher Esh Mekolo, I don't even know who you are. You didn't even make it to my list. Once that happened, that was the checkmate that Hashem wanted. Moshe comes in with a request that's theological. Paro says, are you joking me? And now what happens next is not them leaving. What happens next is showing the world that Hashem exists. The reason why the plagues are important, because the plagues are the moment when the entire world learned that Hashem exists. How'd they do it? Rav Yehuda, no sin bahem simanim. Rav Yehuda said Hashem gave the greatest educational lesson of all time. In 3 groups, he showed the world who he is. Check this out. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for this series. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that it enhances your Seder and brings you closer to Hashem. We have some cliff notes for you in case you want a Seder companion. You can download it. Check out the series and the downloadable stuff at pesach.us, pesach.us. And hope you have a great holiday, and may we see the full redemption soon.